Standout album for me was definitely Duet with Ray Charles's Ghost. Like, you got a ghost. A man that can get a ghost, where are the limits? But then again, like, it was a bit hit and miss really, like, Vicious Smart was obviously people just went in the studio and just smoked and forgot they hit the record button. Just thought, yeah, we'll throw that on, that'll sell. It was shit.
Vicious Smart, well, that album, a little bit interesting. Vincent taking the lead on the vocals. Not such a good move. It was a bit like, you know, Kesha and Meatloaf, like, come on, Vince.
We were big. I mean, we were the first people to do it. I remember the women. Mate, what do you... Bloody... Who even does something like that? I'll tell you who. Nachos. Alright. The women. Went platinum, went gold, went everything. It was great. And I took them there as their manager. Eventually there was some trouble. James found out that Vincent was having a sexual relationship with Troy, and we thought it was in the best interests of the band to disband and go our separate ways.
Tension started to boil over in the recording room. Troy brought in this new thing called the noise box, and it was one of the most sought after instruments in the whole entire world. But some of the underlying things like sitars and constant xylophones and this other thing called a glockenspiel were just not even played in a sense of rhythm, just constantly bashed throughout the bottom of it. He decided that the reason the White Album didn't go so well was because we were in fact, me and Troy were in fact tying him down with our out-of-date antics and the fact that we didn't pull enough women and drink enough booze as what he did.
Being the empathetic manager I am, I offered James a spot in my new rap band, the Boys from the Ghetto. Pronounced Da Boys from the Ghetto. Thank you very much.
She's so deaf she made me scream. I still like showing it. Her jokes are corny. I really like to fuck
yeah, I went from there. We skyrocketed again.
Me and Vince were devastated. We'd lost the lead man in our band, and we didn't know what to do. We didn't know a G major from a Z0, an F11 to God knows what, a hi-hat. I don't even know. James started all our jams just with a light piano. He just started just tapping, just always tapping. Then we just take it from there, the beat. When James left, me and Vince, we got some session musicians in, but they were just muscular pool boys. I don't know why. Vince insisted they didn't know how to. They didn't play music. They didn't tap. They didn't tap on the keyboards like James did.
Me and Troy went on to follow our own careers. Troy opened up a nightclub in Melbourne. It was called Menergy. Won an award for its cocktail called the Mansplosion. I went off and tried to become a carpenter. That, as it turns out, you need hands to do that, so that was a bit of a problem.
When James Rennison went solo, that's when I really started to bond with him. He used to come to me crying and just say, mate, I don't know what I've done. I've really upset Troy. You know, I did it again. I said, James, what did you do? And he said, mate, I don't even know. I said, James, what did you do? And he said, mate, I pulled out my dick. And then I said, oh, okay. And then I stopped in there because he was already demonstrating to me. James was always one to just, you know, pull his dick out and just say, have a look, Granny. I don't really know what he meant by that, but I think the message really shone through in...
going solo, as they called it, or as he called it. It was, you know, I know James had always been the creative heart of Nachos, but I think that the other two guys had, you know, sort of like been his rock in that time, and that when he went out on his own and going solo, he just lost the plot. I mean, track number 1, fucking an elephant, and actually fucking an elephant. That was fucked. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. The review came out and just said, that was fucked. That was fucked, man. But, like, legendary fucked. I remember I was with you that night, and I'm like, dude, are you actually gonna do this? And before I knew it, you were in the elephant. That was legendary.
I told him sternly, James, you can't do that. Not in my house, not in my backyard, and not in my front yard. Conveniently enough, he managed to find a way to fuck an elephant around the side of my house. I don't know how he fit the fucking thing there, or even the recording equipment, but you know, he did it, and I applauded him for that. I said, James, few men have managed to fuck an elephant around the side of my house and record it and make a Han Solo album out of it. And you know, so I grabbed his name, which was James Rennison, and chucked it on the plaque in my living room, you know, the one for those who have fucked elephants around the side of my house. And he told me, he said he was going to go on to do a lot more fucking, and I assumed he meant take on the world, but you know, that's Nachos for you.
But I mean, like, music, you know, is fucking an elephant music? That's sort of, I mean, it's a question that's been asked over many years. I remember Romeo and Juliet was about, is fucking an elephant music? I think the answer is no, definitively. However, the point still stands. Going solo, an experiment. And maybe you didn't pull it off, but maybe that in itself was pulling it off, you know? Maybe just not going that too far, but then going too far at the same time, maybe that was pulling it off. I have to say too, my favourite Nachos solo album was probably Rape. Rape was amazing. That was a masterpiece.
Well, when I say favourite, I just mean one I hated the least, which was definitely the Fuck Boat. Their like, you know, Hawaiian themed album. They had a lot of interesting rhythms, marimbas and timpanis. Interesting thing about the Fuck Boat was it was never officially released to the public, like in stores. It was more just a recording that James made for his own enjoyment. Vincent and Troy, well, they told me that they didn't really have much say in the music writing process, but compared to the rest of their work, it was probably the most bearable, I think.
Well, I thought it was a bit strange that they released an album with the exact same album art as Michael Jackson's Thriller, but I guess they were trying to go for the original look, clearly, but I think it paid off in the long run, and it was good.
When I first met James Rennison, he was actually black, so it was a bit weird when I met him 5 years later and he was white. Sort of a weird sort of guy to meet, but ultimately proved to be a good friend of mine later in life.
Well, you can say he's ingenious. I mean, Dickmas, who would have thought? You can coin that phrase, sure. And, you know, no one knows how to ruin a family holiday like James Rennison in more ways than one, but I suppose he always knows what to think. He can always think of something. He can always get something going, a party, conversation, an album. I mean, Christmas carols with the word dick in it, it's unexplored territory, you know? He's a great guy. He's a great, great, great guy.
The Tiger album, that came, I'm not really sure where that came from, but when I listened to it, I found it really emotional, you know? And, I got this tattooed with the cover art of it, yeah. That's how powerful it was to me. But it just came out of nowhere, really. Yeah.
When I first found James, 83, I saw him there, lying in the gutter. He looked really upset. So I just went up to him and I said, "You alright, little guy?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'd have to say my favourite's probably the sing-along one because, you know, the other albums were pretty good, but the sing-along was more, it seemed more natural, especially for James, because, you know, when you hear his voice on that album, it's so gentle, and I just can't help but think of the night when I first saw him.